All right, we're live.
We're
Mighty Hump
live, hump
Day
day.
again. Yeah, this time I'm coming to you from my new virtual man cave with my looks like I got a kegerator over there and my man skis, ready to my old school wood skis, ready to rock.
I just like the exposed brick. It's very rustic.
Yeah, very rustic. Yeah, exactly. It's just nice down here, you know. You get under street level and everything's quiet. Oh man. Well, how's your week been, bro?
It's been pretty crazy. Lots of teaching, lots of meetings, just stacked right up. One of the administrators at my place um, requested an 8 a.m. meeting. I'm like, I, I mean, I showed up, and everyone in there was like, "Wow,
On
8 a.m."
site. 8
Yeah,
a.m. on site.
I
Yeah,
was
in
like, they were
person.
like, man, 8 a.m. It's like, oh well, um, as a former public school teacher, she said she's used to waking up at 5 a.m. and getting to work. Basically getting, leaving for work by 6. So 8 a.m. Feels really natural. I'm like, yeah, but we're not former elementary school, K-12 school teachers. Anyway, that
Yeah.
was kind of funny. It's neat seeing the different sort of cultural differences between departments on campus. So like in the business school, no one would wear what I'm wearing now, which is, it's just like a polo, untucked jeans with jeans. Like no one would wear that. It would be tucked in. You'd have to have like the company logo on it, or you'd be wearing full button down. Like if you're gonna wear a polo, it needs to be a company polo.
Oh,
With the department.
what environment is that? That's at the school?
Yeah, that's the business school because it's like, well, that's just. I mean, if you're, I mean, these are people that are teaching in the MBA school. Like,
Oh yeah,
well,
you're a serious academic. You have to have a polo shirt. It has to have a logo that goes with the place that you're, of course.
well,
That's what serious business people do.
that's what serious business people do.
Yeah.
And
And they
then
have
like,
bet matching cards with the same symbols on them. That's how you know I'm legit.
I'm
Symbol,
the, I'm
symbol,
the right
symbol.
person. Yeah. But and then of course, if you're wearing like a button-down shirt, you should have a tie, or maybe like if it's after 3, you can unbutton the top button and loosen the tie slightly. So, but everything's still there and it's still in place. And then with the
And you said you lost me at the word should. I'm out.
yeah, well, and then the nursing school, everybody walks around in scrubs. Like
Mm.
just, I mean, the professors are just, I mean, that's nursing uniform is scrubs.
They did that. The school that I went to, we had a nursing school, and all the students would walk around. And I remember asking one of my friends at the time, I was like, so, like, do you wear those to the hospital? Like, that's a. It's oh no, we don't go on the hospital site yet. I mean, that happens in year whatever, you know. And I don't. Well, then why are you wearing that? Aren't you wearing pajamas like everybody else?
It's the uniform.
Yeah,
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 but yeah, like the education school, people show up super early. Like it's just there's a culture for each one.
yeah.
If you're one of the art, if you're in the art school and you're not covered in either like some paint splatter or sawdust or like bits of ceramic dust or whatever, then it's like, are you really an artist? I mean, why are your hands not smudged with charcoal? Like what's what's going on?
Hmm. Yeah.
So
How can I tell if you don't have the ink stains and to prove it,
yeah,
right?
it's not
Are you in
real.
the newspaper class? Where's your,
The smock, yeah,
the smock? Yeah,
for
exactly.
for a printing press. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the insurance dress code?
Well, dude, I mean, forever it's been, suit and tie, man.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not for me, but I mean, that's what the industry does.
For other people.
For some people, maybe no. I mean, but that's the thing. It's like, you're a financial advisor. You got, a few years ago, it started to be a little bit more chill. But I mean, I always hated all that. I'm like, dude, you're doing business with me. If you want what I got, great. If you don't, that's fine. I mean, whatever. But I always felt like, of course, too, I got my start going door to door, right, to sell insurance, like in neighborhoods, and they were pretty much middle class neighborhoods, like Chevys and Fords in the driveway, and so you roll
Showing
up
up in
to,
a suit would look a little weird.
and the thing is, like you're trying to. I think the thing about business dress, this is a topic of. I mean, it's been hotly debated for decades. We're not going to solve it here, but I do think two things. One is there is this element of, okay, I want to dress to impress, right? In the sense that, like, you say a lot about yourself by what you choose to put on and how you curate that image for the people that you're going to meet. And so I respect myself. I respect you enough to, tighten it up. Right. Um, and in some professions that matters more than in other professions. I would imagine in academia, it actually probably matters quite a bit, in the sense that, you do want these people looking up to you and thinking that you have something to teach them. Um,
Doesn't matter
but, or not. Yeah.
because what they want is not the knowledge. They want the
What do they want?
grade. They
Oh,
want
they
the
want the
grade.
grade. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There you go.
So like
Yeah.
my ability to turn
So
in
actually, you should be trying
grades.
to impress me.
Yeah. Well, my ability to turn in grades is that's all I am to them.
That's
So
interesting.
that's as impressive as it needs to be.
That's interesting.
So
But there's another element. There's another element of business stress, and I think that's the element of people like people like to do business with people that they perceive are like them. I mean, it's just that's kind of a fact, and I mean, there might be somebody listening to this. It's like, oh, that's not true for me, but the vast majority of people, they do business with people that they like and trust. And we like people and trust people who we perceive are like us, that have the same life experiences, that come from the same place, that are the same, what I like to call PLU. I've used that acronym for years, like, oh, that you're gonna love this guy. He's PLU. People like us, right?
people like us.
People
Oh,
like
okay,
us. Yeah,
okay.
he's PLU, right? And so from that standpoint, and also coupled with the fact that I personally just don't like to get dressed up, so it's a personal flaw, right? Preference, whatever you want to call it. So to me, it was like, oh, I like this point of view because it's exactly what I want to believe anyway. But I always found like for me, like when you're doing business, especially in a residential setting, you're walking up into somebody's home, you're going to, a school, you're hanging out, whatever the case may be, you're working with that kind of middle America type of person.
Hmm.
They want to deal with somebody real and authentic, and part of that is like you is conveyed by what you wear. Um, and so, if you're putting on airs or whatever else, like you're not going to build credibility. In fact, what you do is you build distance. And oh, that guy's a snob and knows. So look, who does he think he is? So there's that as well. Now, I guess if you're dealing with like ultra high net worth individuals, and let's say you are not a high net worth individual, then yeah, you might need to make up the difference there with the way that you dress and
Hmm.
probably your vocabulary and things like that. So
Your choice of jewelry. No giant gold chains hanging out.
your watch, I mean, the,
Yeah.
the fact that you're wearing a fake Rolex, I mean, just tells me you're a poser,
That's not
or
a
whatever the
fake
case may be.
Rolex. That is not a fake
Oh, that's
Rolex.
wow. Is that a real Oh no, that's a real something else though. See, you don't wear fake stuff. That's what I like about
This is a
you.
G-Shock, dude.
See, the legit.
Casio.
And it's probably
Legendary.
straight from Casio, right? Like
Yeah.
Casio really made that. That's not some Chinese knockoff of Casio. That's
No.
actually
Real Casio.
from
Oh,
Japan.
I didn't even know there were fake Casios. They're not that
Dude, there's fake
expensive.
everything.
Yeah.
China will make you fake anything. They'll like make a knockoff.
It's like this is a fake Louis
This is
Vuitton.
authentic replica of a Louis Vuitton replica. Check it out.
No.
I jest, I tease our Chinese friends.
No.
Yeah. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your contribution. I appreciate only having to pay $1,100 for this and not $2,800 for this.
Hey, mine was made in Korea. So,
Oh, really?
Samsung.
Oh, that's right, Korea.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Free
So, so
capitalist manufacturing.
yeah. So what do we have to discuss about this week's events that is on your mind?
Well, so there hasn't been a lot as far as political stuff that's been going on that really
So
caught my
depressing.
eye.
I'm waiting for the next episode, and it just hasn't
I
dropped yet.
know. Well, so some of the stuff is, I mean, there has been things going on, but they've been pretty predictable, I think. So there's been some movement in the polls, and I talked about this last week that we're going to start to see a little bit more movement away from Harris, just as some of the hype falls away, and we get actual Harris, and actual Harris is not really that impressive or interesting. Um, so it's like that's starting to happen. Um, you know, yeah, so FEMA stuff, like, so there's been the hurricane stuff that's been going on, but I'm still waiting to get actual news about this. So we've gotten some on the ground video, and some of it's been really wild. People are saying that they're not that they're not being allowed to bring emergency equipment or supplies, and that FEMA has actually been confiscating supplies and rations and all this other stuff. So, but that's the thing is, all I hear is this person on Twitter or that person, or here's a
Well,
video of
well,
something.
and none of the official report, and that's what's weird. And I'm not saying FEMA. Of course, FEMA says that they're doing everything right, but I mean, like even the
Yeah, right.
governors, right? But the governors, the county officials, the people that are actually like the first responders that are receiving whatever help that they're receiving and then putting it out, they're all saying that there's no problems, there's no issues, and it's fine.
Well, we're
But
getting. So what I've seen
it's
is
it's
kind of
it's the citizen armies of people attempting to help on their own that are maybe outside the system that are getting
right.
stymied or
Well,
blocked or
and
whatever.
I've seen some reports from local people, like local sheriff's office, local law enforcement, saying, we're trying to help and we're not allowed to, and we're being blocked and all this other stuff. So that's the thing is that there's not enough information on it right now, I think, to actually form an opinion. I think if you're in the middle of it yourself, you probably have your well-earned opinion. And unfortunately, the story that you tell on social media is going to get just washed away in the avalanche of other social media stories. So hopefully at some point we get some closure on how bad is it really, who's actually able to help, how effective has the federal government's relief effort been, and so on. So I think this will be a big story, but it's not ripe yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do think
Yeah.
that, I mean, just the common sense guy inside me is like, like the objections that I hear, like about, let's say, like FEMA, I guess, addressed, or some people from the administration addressed. Well, I mean, uh, yeah, we welcome anybody who wants to help, and at the same time, like we do have processes in place. And when you show up with stuff that's outside those processes, like we're trying to make sure that things get distributed in the appropriate way, and this isn't actually helping. This is actually like causing issues. Okay, I get that. I'm not a master planner. I'm sure that your genius plan was flawless. And uh, give me a break. Like there's no liability here. Somebody's going to sue the federal government because there was too much help. Like that's ridiculous. So I just think some of that just strikes me as like I don't know who's running the place, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, please, why would you ever stand in the way of people that are actually trying to help? And people like,
Yeah.
they're bringing you goods, bringing you services. I mean, maybe, oh, Doritos aren't, I have no idea, but like, dude, you let the people
Well,
deliver their Doritos. Like, it's just
yeah.
crazy.
And I think what's complicating it for me, so like the thing that's preventing me from like getting an opinion that I feel good about at this point, is just the difference in terrain. So, I mean, I live in Houston. Houston is subject to nasty hurricanes, and yeah, I mean, there have been plenty of times where uh, some of my coworkers have been literally bailed out by the Cajun Navy driving across from Louisiana with their monster trucks and you know whatever those boats are, the hovercraft boats.
Yeah. The fan
Yeah,
boats and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, come in, get people off the roofs of their houses and stuff. But the thing is that Houston is really flat, and so if you have a monster truck, you're probably actually able to get anywhere you want to go,
Mhm.
and certainly with the boat you are. And but where some of the real issues are in North Carolina, and I mean they're very mountainous. They're talking about only being able to get supplies in by helicopter or drone, and then you start to have issues with FAA clearance. And it's like, well, if you've got the military trying to drop stuff off with Blackhawks, and then a bunch of private
You got a bunch of
aviation,
drones. Yeah.
yeah, it's like maybe this is so. That's like I
Right.
want to wait a little bit. I'm ready to be outraged, but I want to wait until get a little bit more of what's going on the ground. The part that does outrage me though is
Yeah,
um,
you look super outraged. When you use that word, I always laugh. I'm like, "Oh, you're outraged, are you?" I'm glad you told me because
I'm
I never
so
would have been able to.
angry. Yeah.
I'm
No,
so angry, really.
I'm so right now I could just chew on a bunch of
Punch a
bullets right
clown.
now.
I could just punch a clown.
No, the part that I find sort of objectionable, looks really bad, is the funding response. So
Oh yeah, that
this
we don't have it. We're not gonna have enough money.
we don't have enough money, or we do, we're gonna provide $750 if you can apply online to this process. And it's just like, 750
Well,
bucks.
to be fair, that's a first no questions asked
Sure.
output, and
Well,
then
no,
there's
no,
more
it's
to
not
yeah.
no questions asked. There
Oh,
was
pardon me, but I mean an expedited 750. Pardon me, an
yeah.
expedited 750. Yeah.
So, I don't see uh, like the emergency funding bills, like you say. Oh, we need to do emergency funding. Like there are emergency funding bills going on right now, and they're almost all overseas war aid. So it's like we're going to emergency fund getting getting stuff to Israel or getting stuff to Ukraine or whatever, but we're not seeing that kind of urgency when it comes to our own citizens. So
I
that I
agree.
find
I haven't seen it
very
either.
very
You know,
objectionable.
very objectionable. I agree
Yeah.
with you, man. Well, the thing is, like, and I had a good some good friends in town this weekend. As you know, we hung out. Who were who were some of my more liberal cadre, and you know, and I've always been a pretty big liberal myself, you know. So I think you know they were making a couple of comments like, you know, I'm really disturbed by how on your podcast you're talking trash about our team, and I'm like, okay, well, it might be your team. It's not my team.
Whose team? What team are
Who's
you
the?
on?
I mean, my team. I'm Team America, and and these people, I apologize, are not doing a good job. So like, um, you know, prove me wrong. You know, well,
Mhm.
it was like this litany of, you know, well, they're doing this right, they're doing this right, they're doing this right, they're doing this right. I'm like, okay, that's great, and you have my gratitude and respect, and that's awesome. What about these things? Are they doing those things right? Like, if not, we're not allowed to discuss that because it might give the other team a chance to get a leg up because I'm pointing out the deficient. Like that does makes no sense. Like I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I don't think, and not just me, but like the average American has questions. Like this makes no sense. Um, so I think to give Mayorkas not a pass, but I do understand after living in Washington for a long time. I mean, that statement where he's like, "Hey, we're not going to have enough money to last the year," is the statement that he made, right? He made that statement. I know to for an audience of Congress. Like his intention was, we need to set up that I'm going to need to ask for some more money, you know.
Mm.
And I mean, that's where he was going with that. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. That's very predictable. Every agency eventually is going to complain about running out of money and want more money. I mean, that's a function of agencies. They're going to spend every dollar they have and then some. And they, frankly, this is what's wrong with the system. That you they create a budget, they petition for that budget, the money gets allocated, and then their job is to spend every bit of that money, because if they don't, next year they're not going to get that money. If they don't get the size of money that they wanted, then their agency is going to shrink. If their agency shrinks, their clout shrinks, their
Their fiefdom.
influence, their fiefdom shrinks.
Yeah.
And the problem is so that now just multiply that by ever how many agencies there are and whatever else, and you
Mm.
just have this that's why you have this crawling like
Yeah.
cancerous outgrowth of crap that's going on up there.
Every
And
agency, every department in every agency, every subgroup of every department of every agency, they're all doing that.
anybody that's got a budget of any kind is absolutely seeking to maximize and overspend that budget, and then beg for more money and do the soccer player like, oh, I can't. We would have helped all these people. Blah blah blah. Okay, so that's where he was going with that. The fact is, they do have enough money to take care of this disaster. They do have enough money to take care of maybe even some of the next disaster. But the problem is that there's going to be more disasters. They're probably not going to have enough money for those. And what I find so ridiculous about the administration's response on this has been, well, this is just misinformation that FEMA spent all that money on undocumented workers and now we don't have enough money. That's just misinformation. It's like, how is that misinformation? That's on your website. Your website
Yeah.
says like,
Well,
here's
yeah,
where we spent.
that's one of
That's
the things
crazy.
that
Why not just own it?
well, that's one of the
Like
things I don't understand is like why not if that's a priority of yours, why not be proud of it?
be proud of it. Like, yes, of course we help these undocumented workers because if we hadn't, it would. And by the way, there's a good case to be made there. You know,
Yeah.
I was so my friends that were chastising me this weekend for for
Hey, no one came and chastised me.
it's so
Why
disrespectful,
would
right?
they have
They
come
should.
after me?
You're the real problem. I'm just along for the ride. No, but but you know, I was like, look, the I almost opened the podcast with this because I was so like, and by the way, I say this, if they watch this recording or whatever, I love you and I'm glad that you felt comfortable telling me how you felt. And and everything that I told you back, I stand by. I'd repeat on this on the show right here. Right. The fact is that like their argument was that the Republicans are so bad. They're just this threat to the country. Like if they get into office, uh, it's over. It's like that's the fall of the Roman Republic. It's over, and we're all going to be, God help us, right? And so any light that is shed on the incompetencies or ineptitudes or oversights or what we can put the kindest possible spin of deficiencies on how you're delivering whatever, right? That we can't talk about those things because it'll give these arsonists a chance to get in the house, right? And okay, first of all, and I'll just say it here. I said it to them, and I'll say it here. I don't believe that Trump or the Republicans are an existential threat to our democracy. I don't believe it. Okay, prove me wrong. I don't believe it. I don't. I have not thought that. Do I think Trump is reprehensible? Do I think he is like completely misguided on a lot of his policies? Do I think his language is completely true? Yes, I've said yes, 100%. Right? Do I think he's going to destroy America? No, I don't. I don't think so. Sorry. Okay. But let's say I did. Okay. And this was my point. Let's pretend that I really did believe that, or let's pretend you really believe that, friend, right? If that's really true, then it was on you guys to nominate somebody who was actually capable of making sure he didn't win. I have no idea. Why would you? Uh, uh, anyway, I mean, I could go on and on about this, but like, it, the ammunition that you bring to the fight needs to be in what do you call it, proportion to the enemy that you face. If you really believe you have an enemy like this, then you bring the ammunition to take that enemy out. And they did not do that. They're not sending their best. Let's just put it that way, right? So I think I've
No,
said that
well, I
multiple times.
mean, they are. They are sending the ammunition,
They are sending
but
their
it's a little bit
ammunition.
more literal.
Oh, okay, but they're not. They're not. Anyway, your candidate. I'm sorry. Now? Here's what I will say. Now, so I was going to ask you if you saw her
Oh,
interview with Charlemagne the God a couple days ago.
whose? Harris's?
Kamala. Yeah,
No, I did not see it.
she was excellent.
Okay.
Okay, I can't even believe I'm saying that because like it was so out of left field. She was great. I'm not saying I agreed with all her answers,
But
but
she did a good job.
she did a great job. And I think I don't know what happened. I don't know what conversation they had, but it was almost like somebody said in her campaign, "Look, you got 2 weeks left. Just go out and be yourself
Be
and say what you
normal.
actually think. Say what you actually think. Like
Yeah.
just be real and just say what you actually think." Because I don't know before that interview.
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, we've made the critiques on the show multiple times, but I mean, like, dude, it's just canned responses, inane phrases strung together. What was that Star Trek that we watched back in the day when they go to the planet and it's run by Nazis or whatever, like real Nazis? Uh,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you're
it's
talking
like a
about.
Kirk and Spock. For those of you guys that are Trekkies, you guys can probably come up with the name of it. But
Yeah, and they what the guy is sort of the leader. Spoiler alert, is drugged, and they have him parked in front of the microphone like this,
right,
and then
you can't
he's just sitting there, and then
delivering his speech
they have like a computer system stringing together phrases that he had said
of
before.
his,
Yeah,
but stitched together, and and Spock goes, "There's no form or substance to his speech.
yeah.
It's
No
just random
structure.
sentences strung together. There's no real message here." And somehow that was on TV a couple weeks ago. There's a for those of you guys that don't know, if you love Star Trek, there's an app called Pluto TV, and they have all these free stations, and one of them is a Star Trek station. You can literally just trek your heart out, and I'm a Trekkie, so anyway, and it was on that. I was kind of falling asleep one night and had that on, and I just started laughing because I was like, "Oh my god, it's Kamala Harris!"
We found her.
I found her. Yeah, she's on that plane. But so she. The thing that and it was actually frustrating my friend who was telling me this. He was like, you guys are saying that she's not smart and da 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 da. He goes, and he was telling me his personal experience. He's like, look, I've worked with her, I guess in a previous capacity when she was a senator or whatever on a project, and he was one of the team, public-private partnership interests that came in, and they had collaborated on something. And he was like, "Dude, she's real smart. She's real engaged. She cares." Which that honestly, like
That's great.
that's a baseline for public service. So I would hope so. I was like, well, then why hasn't she displayed that? Like, why is she going on TV acting like a robot? Like, that makes no sense. Like, I mean, one thing the American people want is authenticity. Like, and look at Trump as an example, right? People will forgive a world of sins if they think that you're actually telling them the truth,
He's being
right?
real.
It's not that he's telling the truth; he's telling his truth, right? Whatever that is, right? He believes the stuff that he's saying, right? And even if he doesn't, like he everything that he did when he was office is congruent with what he said. So it's like he spoke, he was congruent with what he had said, and to varying degrees. But I mean, like people don't they don't view him as like, oh, he's a liar, or I mean, except people that aren't going to vote for him. He's just, oh, he's a liar, he lies about everything. Okay, yes, but if you're a fan of what he's saying, he did what he said he was going to do. Now you can disagree with the policy, say I don't want that. That's a totally fine. I mean, I feel that way about half the stuff he did. Um, but he's authentic, right? I can go down a whole list of politicians, right and left, who are completely fake, and that's why. I mean, uh, you know, uh, Al Gore is an easy one. I mean, but not Al Gore, not the Al Gore who did the documentary after he was out of politics, like the Al Gore that
Oh,
did
the in
the
politics Al
inconvenient,
Gore.
the inconvenient truth. Like when he talks about environmentalism, like, and again, you can disagree with his conclusions, but he absolutely believes that, he's passionate about it, and it comes across like his documentary, whether you agree with the conclusion or not, is very engaging. Like, it is fun to watch. He's a funny guy,
Yeah,
which is weird
the
to say because it's
conclusions
Al Gore.
wasn't that one kind of the predictions didn't age very well, like a
Right,
lot of the
because
stuff.
we're already outside the timeline that he was talking about was
Right,
going to
it's
be.
like,
Yeah,
well, none of that stuff happened, so thanks.
yeah. Yet would be his response, right? Yet, yeah, it's
Yeah.
coming.
Well,
Yeah,
we
it's
got it.
because of all the hard work we've done, and we got to
Yeah,
continue to do.
it
Yeah,
would have been way earlier. It would have been
right,
way worse if
right.
we hadn't. Like,
But
okay,
anyway, my point is like irrespective of whether you agree or disagree with somebody's position, you can tell when somebody's speaking from their heart and they really believe what they're saying, right? And with Gore, he was very prepackaged, trying to say the right things, didn't want to offend the wrong people, et cetera, whatever the case may be. And everything I say is focus tested to make sure it hits the perfect spot in the electorate or whatever. People see through that; they don't want that.
mm-hmm.
And if anything else, I mean, if she keeps on with that type of performance, then I imagine you would see an uptick in her support, just because people want an alternative to Trump who's real. So there are people that are absolutely going to vote for the Trump alternative no matter what. There are people that are absolutely going to vote for Trump no matter what. But then there's those people that are like, I really don't want to vote for Trump. I just need a reason to vote for you, right? And so you just got to give them that reason. And you're running out of time, girl. Now's the time. Give them the reason.
I kind of think that that it's too late,
It may be,
and just looking at
but I doubt
this.
it, because this time in 16, Comey still hadn't come out with his bombshell. So it's not too late by any means
Yeah,
for anything
yeah.
to happen by that matter.
Well, so I think, and the reason I'm saying that is I think that the people who are Trump supporters, if you look at all the things that have come out, it's like, oh my gosh, the Access Hollywood tape in 2016 should have been enough to sink his candidacy
Right.
forever. Didn't matter. Didn't matter. Like, people are turning out 5-6 points ahead of where polls had suggested would happen in favor of him. Like the 2020 race, according to polls, I mean, Biden was ahead by 9, I think, in Wisconsin. He wound up winning it by 0.3. It's like, yeah.
Well,
So
because
it's not.
Trump always underpolls,
Well, yeah, but
because there's so many people that are going to vote for him, but they would never admit that they're going to vote for him because
right,
they have to protect their social circle, and the
sure.
left will absolutely ostracise you. So like,
You'll just be the enemy.
it's not just the left either, because it's become so corporatized now that, like, you could literally, like, and that to me, that is a scary place to be. That's not what America's about. The fact that you can, like, have a political opinion and then lose your, or like Elon Musk, California, like, we're not gonna look at using you as a vendor because of your political views. That's outrageous. I mean, really outrageous.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
not. He's
and
not. He's not out there advocating for like some wacky white supremacy third party. He's voting for Republican. Like
yeah.
to me, that's crazy.
Well, and I think there are going to be people who are like voting for Trump merely because it might put a stop to that kind of thing. So it's like, hey,
I
we're going
agree.
to
Yes,
ostracize this other group. Well, that group wins now, so we're just gonna that strategy becomes like we're not gonna do that again. That's a losing strategy. So
I
I
hope
think
so.
that's
I hope so. I hope
kind
they
of
ditch
interesting.
that. Yeah,
So, but the thing is though, the people who are in favor of Trump, I can't imagine what an October surprise could even be that would shake them.
it's
Like,
not. It's not his base. It's again. It's the undecideds. Either
right,
way, that
right.
can flip back and forth.
But like the undecided number is, I think, much smaller this time around. I'm not saying like the registered Republicans or registered Democrats, but the people who haven't yet made up their minds. Like if you're sitting here, if all the stuff's been going on, you're sitting here going like, Trump, I just don't know. Like you probably either think he's Satan incarnate, or you're gonna either hold your nose and vote for him because you've kind of looked through the propaganda, or maybe you're like a Trump true believer and it's like God Emperor, let's vote for the God Emperor. Um, and
The
then,
God Emperor. Yeah, you
but the
sent me
same,
that Twitter account.
but the same thing I think is true for Harris supporters, where it's just like, oh, here's an interview where she sounds really silly. Doesn't matter. What about this? Doesn't matter. You could say almost anything. Like, oh, we found out that she is fake on everything. And it wouldn't matter because the people who are voting for Harris are voting for two things. And this is what a lot of the polling has shown. The people who are voting for Harris tend to think that the two most important issues facing America are protecting democracy, which of course just means like keep Trump out of office, and the other one is abortion rights. And even though you might say, well, gosh, Trump is not in favor of an abortion ban. He was on the town hall the other day saying that he thinks those total bans that some states are doing will probably get struck down in one way or another. He doesn't think that those are going to last. So I mean, he's much more moderate on abortion than I think a lot of Republicans would like. But everyone's got it in their head on this particular group that it's like the Handmaid's Tale is going to happen or something. And
Well,
so,
I don't know. I disagree with you there, man. Like, I mean, there were 20 some odd thousand babies supposedly born in Texas in the last 2 years due to rape.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That I mean that's a real number.
Yeah.
That's not people having it in their heads, right? There are countless stories
Oh yeah.
of women who couldn't get medical attention,
Right. No, no,
died of sepsis in their cars in the parking lot. I mean, like, it's
no,
crazy.
no. I know.
And
What I'm,
and by the way, like it or not, he's responsible. I mean, he's the one that overturned those protections. So therefore, now and he's proud of it. And by the way, if you're of a particular political persuasion, you think that's a good thing. So, but
well, not
the
those,
people the people that are exposed to those kinds of stories, like that's not in their
not,
head. That's a real result.
no, no, not those outcomes, right? It's that the idea is if you compare like the Republican Party and where it was, say, back in the 80s or 90s when the moral majority thing was going on, they would have been pushing for, a federal ban, uh,
Sure.
an amendment declaring life or citizenship, life begins at conception, that kind of stuff. So,
But they already have personhood amendments, though. Like, I mean,
but
it's
I mean,
crazy
federally,
and stuff. Yeah,
right? So
there's some
Trump,
crazy states out there, bro.
if you look at right, but if you look at sort of the Republican spectrum, for Republican, Trump is pretty moderate on this
I
issue,
agree. Yep,
right?
I agree with that.
So, but yeah,
I'm just saying
if
that people that care about abortion, like that's not in their
no,
heads.
it's
Like,
not.
yeah,
It's not. Right. And that's the thing. Is like there's no way a moderate Republican position on abortion is ever going to sway someone who considers abortion access to be the primary, not even if it's not that their single issue, the most important issue for them to vote on. So then it's kind of like it really doesn't matter what comes out about Kamala or what she does or anything, is it's like, hey, I'm going to vote for this anyway, for this party, because they're the ones that are going to secure this right or safeguard it or give it the least possible damage. in our current environment. And so it's like, well, that's why I've been looking at the poll numbers and the connections between some of these issues, and I just don't see, but in a couple of weeks, the people that are sort of baked into these positions really changing, and the independents are now such a small group, not independents, but undecideds, and that small group is going to be, if they wind up voting their pocketbook, probably Trump winds up winning, maybe probably the popular vote. If they wind up kind of swinging the other way into something more like, like if abortion or protecting democracy or whatever, then it'll be the other way. But it's not like there's a big shift. I think that's gonna happen anytime soon. At least not. I don't think there's enough time. Yeah,
We'll find out.
we'll find out. I mean, it's October. This is
Stay
the
tuned in
this
2
is the
weeks when
surprise
Russell
month.
eats his words on television.
Hey, I will.
No,
Hey,
I'm
you
just
know
kidding. I'm
what?
just kidding.
Well, no, but that's the thing is I was wrong about the outcome of both debates. So I have no problem making a prediction being like, you should not trust
I
me
do
at
I do
all.
like that about you, man. Yeah, yeah, I do like that about you. You're like you just go with your gut, and you're not even embarrassed about it. It's like, oh, I got that one
No,
wrong.
I got it wrong.
Yep,
I got
I
it
love
wrong.
that.
How
I love
often are
that,
we
man.
wrong about the future? Most of the time.
Yeah, all
So
the time,
it's
man.
okay,
That's right.
right? There's no shame in it.
Right. Out of the thousands of possibilities, we ended up with this one. So any guess you make is 999 to one, right?
Yeah. Hey, do
Yeah.
you have any predictions about how the next couple weeks are going to shake out? Do you think the any big stories are on the horizon for you, or you think
I mean,
any?
I stand by what I said after Trump's assassination attempt, the first one.
Okay.
I thought it was his to lose then. um, I've thought it was his to lose the whole time, and I don't think that. By the way, that's not necessarily my preferred outcome. That's just
This is what you think will
that's
happen.
what it looks like to me. And the people, what what's the right way to say this? The the there are so many people who have a problem looking at something and just kind of assessing it as a human being. You know, it's like that. For example, let use the assassination attempt, right? And it's like, okay, his his reaction to that, his response to that, the raising the fist in the air, fight, 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 whatever, right? Um, I mean, that's like a John Wayne moment, dude. I mean, I don't care who you are, like that was inspiring. And in fact, if you weren't inspired by it, I challenge you to look at like how deep your political views are warping your ability to just notice an extraordinary human moment. Okay,
Mm.
it is it doesn't mean you have to go vote for the guy or even that you've been suddenly convinced that he's anything other than what he is, which is a loudmouth, huckster. That is what he is.
Supreme ringmaster.
and and that was an amazing human moment, and it was inspiring to a lot of people. And I think ultimately people, the number one thing that people crave in life is certainty.
Hmm.
They want to know uh what's next, right? They want to feel like that's true of me, that's true of you, that's true of every human being. We want to know that we're providing a good future for our kids, all the different things, right? Like, I mean, we want to know that our business is solid. We want to know that the supply chains are cool. We're going to have groceries in the grocery store if I decide to go there this afternoon, whatever, right? I mean, like we crave that certainty and that stability, right?
Hmm.
And usually that would be a recipe for Kamala Harris and the establishment politician, right? Like, say what you will about the
Greater stability and predictability.
continuity and predictability, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if you just think about like that underlying human desire for continuity and stability and predictability and comfort and whatnot. Um, it's not sticking with one party or the other, right? Because you can feel in your gut that things aren't going the right way. You want to make a change or whatever. But and say what you will about the establishment. There's a lot of talk about, oh, your establishment, not establishment, whatever, which I think is now even itself become something that's not even, it's a caricature. Um, So say what you will about the establishment
Right.
is that we're living in historically a post-war order that we put together after World War II, over, you know, a lot of twists and turns, wrong steps, et cetera. But like we've ironed this together, cobbled it together. We're fortunate enough to find ourselves in the center hub of that post-war order. Our currency is the world reserve currency. We are in a dominant position on the planet, for better or worse. And so for people that prize that or want to continue that, or you may not like this policy or that policy, or I'm not a warmonger. I wish we weren't doing that or interfering in other whatever. But I would like to stay at the top of the mountain, at the top of the hill, right? We're the king of the hill. I'd like to stay up there, right? And so usually that would draw you, if you cared about that primarily, you would be drawn to you. There would be something in you to be like, well, with a candidate like Trump, who is basically promising. I mean, like, dude, if you look at Trump's team, you got Trump, Vance, Vivek Ramaswamy has become a prime voice in there. Tulsi, RFK, whatever. Like you go down the whole list, Elon. Um, the negative thing that is totally, I mean, you just call it, it's an objective
Predictable.
fact. It's
Yeah.
an objective fact. These guys have all stated that they want to rip apart the system that we have. It's not working.
It's
It's
corrupt.
ill-conceived. It's corrupt. It's whatever else. And we need to pare it down and get back to executing on. Vivek makes a very eloquent case for. I disagree with him, but he makes a very eloquent case for that point of view. And he's done a great job. In fact, I almost wish it's like, dude, like if you had been this articulate with your opinions before when you were running, you would have done a lot better. And I think it's another example of somebody who put together some positions and pandered, to the swing of the part. And he's admitted it, like, I mean, not
Well,
the
and
pandering
it may be
part, but
one of
he's
those
admitted that, you know,
where like he might be a wonderful candidate for 2028 now
well,
that
he's a
he's
young
sort of
dude. He's got
refined.
he's
Yeah.
got 30 years in front of him,
Yeah.
more 40 if you
Yeah.
take the age of these guys.
Well,
Uh,
and that's the thing is like, okay, you cut your teeth on someone else's campaign, you become part of that administration, and it's not necessarily become heir apparent, but like that's sort of cements your place within the
yeah.
political constellation, I guess.
Well, anyway, so to
Yeah.
wrap up that point, right?
Yeah.
So that team wants to rip this up and
Yeah.
get back to some common sense or whatever the case. Well, however they frame that, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and usually people that prize stability, continuity, et cetera, be like, oh, I don't know, that sounds a little risky. That's I don't know. Everything about that approach, right, should be a loser. Okay, especially given the chaos that's in the world right now, and the fact that it is ascendant, right, just shows you how bad. Uh, and I'm not going to lay it all on Biden's feet. I mean, people want to, Biden's great. I'm not going to do that. Okay, everybody has been complicit, including Trump, in complicit in bringing this to this moment.
It's like a 30-year,
But
I would say maybe post SNL crisis under Reagan.
oh, dude, it goes way further than that.
I think
I
70s maybe for the when the standard of living and dollar, peaked.
I actually would put it. Yeah, so where did things start going wrong? Right, I would put it even at the Kennedy assassination.
Oh wow.
because
Okay.
because Kennedy, if you in fact, I was listening to a great podcast about this maybe a month ago. Kennedy wanted to get us out of Vietnam. Like he didn't even want to go into Vietnam. I think he sent
Mhm.
60,000. I can't remember what the number was. It was a very moderate size. I mean, it seemed large at the time, but it was. I mean, compared to what we did, it was just send some troops over there to kind of whatever. And it was at the time like he was being given a lot of bad advice and following it, like Bay of Pigs, all these different things, right? And so it was like, and so after that, he was like, dude, after the missile crisis, had been talking to Bobby about and all this about like we need to get these troops out of Vietnam. Like that's not our business. They need to do whatever they need to do. Like we're not gonna that's not our fight. And I'm I mean, I don't want to get into the whole conspiracy theory about whatever, but like when he was killed and Johnson took over, Johnson was the one that really ramped up our presence in Vietnam, and really that all of that, that what Johnson did, and then of course Nixon came after him, right? And all, think about all the protests. Like somebody was saying the other day. In fact, I was at the music festival. Somebody was like, "Well, we've never been this divided." I'm like, "Dude, yes, we have." I mean, like, think
We
about
fought a
this.
literal civil war.
But you don't even have to go that far back. I mean, like
I mean,
the
yes,
the
we have.
the Vietnam protests, right? Like in the '60s.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, like the civil rights protests, that was crazy before that, right? But even more recently, the Vietnam protests. I mean, I mean, my mom and dad were at University of Texas. They had the gunmen in the towers sniping people. I mean, like that was crazy. You watch video footage of this stuff and students running crazy everywhere, flags, people burning buildings. You know what? John Kerry coming back, speaking truth to power in Congress. It was one of the, I mean, just great moments of real human beings standing up and saying, this is not right, this is not who we are as a country, I will not participate in this, this is wrong. I
Hmm.
mean, that was like a Jeremiah moment for not just Kerry by himself, but like, I mean, he was
A lot
part
of
of
people.
this.
Yeah.
We have to stop, right?
Yeah.
And then you culminate all of that in Nixon and Watergate and people just being like, oh well, screw the government, I can't believe this, right? That really, of course, Nixon taking us off the gold standard, right? And then, Ford basically like kind of being that stopgap. But then you had Carter with the massive inflation, and then Reagan came in, and I do love Reagan from the standpoint of like he really brought that energy, made us believe in ourselves again.
Morning in
Uh,
America.
Morning in America. I mean, in so many metrics, such a great president, and such a flawed approach to economic policy long term. Like in the short term, it was great, right? But in the long term, it has given us, you could trace everything about income inequality and everything that's gone wrong in this country, manufacturing, all this stuff, back to Reagan's policies and the way that they implemented Reaganomics or whatever you want to call it, right? And I don't lay it at his feet. It made sense at the time. It's just, I'm just looking back and making a cold analytical
Yeah.
assessment,
Well, in
right?
the 80s,
And
Friedman was kind of like the hotness. Like, why wouldn't you listen to the smartest economist, like the
right.
most groundbreaking economist?
And Friedman, frankly, the stuff that he says makes a lot of sense. Like in an alternate universe, in an Ayn Rand type world, yes, it absolutely makes sense, right? And it just fails to account for actual human behavior and the fact
Hmm.
that there are so many people that at some point or another, need help and need to be helped and need to be helped up into a functional part of society. And that's the part that has been totally missing. It's like, okay, we have the safety net here, and all it does is it catches people and just keeps them there. And so you have this permanent, and of course the immigration import. There's another Reagan thing with the amnesty for the illegals back then. But you've literally imported. Milton Friedman, by the way, has a great quote. And he's like, illegal immigration works great for American businesses as long as the immigrants remain illegal. Because the minute that you make them legal, then now they're
You got to
participants in
pay
the
him
system,
more.
and you have to pay them.
You have to
They,
build
now
more
they're in Social
unions.
Security. You have to, yes.
It's
And so
bad.
it's like, and which
Oh
which
my
is, I
gosh,
mean,
you have to like stop exploiting labor. What?
well, and it's almost like, dude, I can't even believe this guy had the guy to come
Well,
out
no,
here and
no,
just
but
say,
it's
but it's true.
true though.
It's
It's
true. Yeah.
true. And like it's kind of a sad element of all this. Like when people talk about illegal immigration, it's like, hey, I get that probably being oppressed economically in the U.S. is better than whatever it was that you were fleeing. Like at least no one is kicking down your door and shooting you. Like in some of the scenarios where people have fled like really bad situations. So it's like, yeah, I get that, and so I would never blame you for wanting to make that. But then, as a society, are we really going to say like, well, sometimes you just have to exploit people in order to get the standard of living that we all deserve, that all the
Well, and
other people deserve.
dude, I applaud him for saying the reality of the situation. And it's also just like, come on, it's that again, not who we are, right? And it's
Yeah.
like if you're fighting for a free society where people can come and participate and create what they want, you have to allow people to take risks. You have to allow people all those different things, but you also have to. There has to be a mechanism to pull people into participation, and also control who is in the system participating, which is the whole immigration system. And the
Right.
fact that we're just not, I mean, there are no serious conversation except for Trump talking about like, hey, this is a problem that needs to be addressed. That's what is magnetizing people towards him because like underneath all of this, like people understand like this is look at Germany, look at France, look at all these countries in Europe that have like England is going to be the first majority non-English I think the phrase that I saw last week, and it was crazy. They say, okay, here's the year that this is going to happen, and England is going to switch to where the actual people born in England, right, are going to be a minority in their own country, and
You're
it's the
talking about
first time
the native population,
native population, and
the indigenous population of the English Isles will
it's
become a
not the
minority.
indigenous population of the British English. I'm talking about like people who were born and raised in England, right? Like you could be second, third generation.
Ethnically Anglo-Saxon.
It's they said it's the first time in history that a major country has voluntarily made itself a minority at the expense of it. And by the way, you can have whatever view. Maybe you think that's a terrific thing, right? Most British people don't feel like it's a great thing, right? And I think that's what's happening to like in this country is dude, I don't my dad, our dad came over here, right? When he was 18. He was an immigrant, right? I'm a first generation American. You're a first generation American. I love when people come to, I love the fact that our country is a magnet for people to come in. Like, that's
Mm.
great because it gives us economic superiority and all this other kind of stuff, right? Not to mention the fact a more interesting place to live, right? However, it's like if you don't have some standards on who's coming in and how we're allowing people to come in and participate and if a large portion of those people are coming in and they're not integrating, in fact they are stating I don't want to integrate, like I'm coming over here to do something else, like I mean it's that's how is that, that's not a workable solution. People just feel like that's not a workable solution, and they're right, you know.
So I hate to do this, but we're going to have to cut this short because my power just went out.
But somehow you're still online.
I have a battery backup.
Ah,
So I'm still here. My internet is on a battery backup, but we're beeping.
wow,
So
well, so what is that, that's is that hurricane?
no, no. I have no idea how this happened. So I'm gonna go figure
Well,
it
you go
out.
take care of your business, brother. It was great to see you.
All right.
Call me offline if you need anything. So
Okay. Talk to
to
you
be
later.
continued then. Tune in
Yep.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.